everyone. Welcome. Appreciate you guys joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started because we have a ton of content to bring you today. My name is Erica Rivero. I'm on the communities team here at VMUG, and I get to work with virtual events as well and local leaders like you are seeing today. And we have Kendall, who oversees our Advantage program. If this is your first VMUG event, welcome. We're excited to have you. VMUG, or the VMware User Group, is an independent global customer-led organization created to maximize members' use of VMware and partner solutions through knowledge sharing, training, collaboration, and events. A couple FAQs for the webcast today. You can always get connected to a local VMUG community near you at my.vmug.com. Please use the Q&A function for all questions to our panelists today. This will ensure we get those all answered, and if we can't answer them live, we can answer them after the fact. This session is being recorded, and you will get it in a wrap-up email following the webcast. You can find all future VMUG webcasts here at this QR code or at my.vmug.com. Catch us in person. We were in Tokyo today for an Explore on Tour stop. We'll be in Frankfurt in a couple weeks. We still have the DC UserCon coming up next week, and then join us next Thursday for the global virtual event. We'll have a really exciting announcement for where VMUG will be in 2026, so make sure to tune in. Also today, for joining, you get a special discount code on Advantage. You can use the code CERT10 for 10% off of your Advantage membership. And here's some benefits that you get with that membership. So of course, we have our bread and butter, our free membership that anyone can be a part of. But if you upgrade to Advantage, you get a ton of exclusive discounts, including 50% off of a certification sit. And so this can make it really more attainable to get that certification, as well as if you pass that, we'll talk about it today, but you get 120 of the VCF, you get 128 cores for licenses, as well as vDefend and Avi Load Balancer. So highly recommend to upgrade. Here's that discount code one more time, and we'll show it again at the end as well. But with all that being said, I'm going to kick it over to Justin Sider, who's on the VMUG board of directors and is Houston VMUG leader. And we're excited to have you and the other panelists here today. So thanks, Justin.
Great. Thanks, Erica. Like she said, I'm Justin Sider. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Belay Technologies. We're a small business out of Columbia, Maryland. We do a lot of software development, and obviously we're integrating with VMware products. Today, I'm here just to kind of facilitate a conversation. So if you have a question, throw it in the Q&A. And then one other note, if you are a VMUG Advantage member and you are attending the DC VMUG next week, as it relates to certifications, you will get a complimentary sit for one of the exams. But with that, I'm going to kick it over to Everett. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Everett. I'm out of Belgium. I'm a freelance network and security engineer, I think officially. I mostly do stuff with automation outside of VCF automation, but let's just disregard that. And yeah, since this is about certification, I'm VCP certified on VCF 5.2, 9, and I took the VCF architect and support exams as well. I passed one of those.
Fantastic. We're going to dive into what your experiences was in a few minutes. Next up, Richard.
Hi, everybody. I'm Richard Kenyon from Buffalo, New York. I've been a VMUG leader since 2011, maybe. I'll have to check LinkedIn. It's been a long time. I work in the Western New York IT community for the last 25 years, and I'm currently for an aerospace contractor right now. And we do run VMware and are looking to move up to VCF, which I just got certified in at the St. Louis Connect.
Fantastic. DJ.
Hi, welcome. I'm Dirk Alke. I'm from the Netherlands, and I'm a technologist at ITQ. I work with VMware products on a daily basis. Most of the times VCF, but we still see a lot of non-VCF, of course. And well, I got a lot of VMware certifications, but recently in Vegas, I got the opportunity to do the architect exam, and I passed it. So happy to share experience on certifications over here.
Great. Chicago Dave.
I'm Dave Bradley. I'm the Chicago VMUG leader. I work for a company called Vizient. I've been here for 18 years, and I have a bunch of random VMware certs going back to like VCP 5. I've got my VCF 5.2, and then I sat and tried to take the architect, but I missed it by 2 questions. So help me figure out what I need to go back and study some more for passing.
All right, and last but not least, Danny.
Hey guys, Danny Alvarez here. I'm a solutions architect for a value-added reseller called Cumberland Group. I was on the customer side 5 years ago. I was the guy responsible for the architecture, um, compute, data protection, storage, virtualization. So I've been there, done that for the most part. I passed the VCF admin one, there's 5.2 after 3 tries. So my third attempt, I finally passed it. And I tried the VCF architect exam in Vegas, and I missed it by 1 question, not 2. Got a 290. So I was a little bit upset about that, but I have to go back and take it again.
That's great. I love your resolve. So while I have you on here, talk to me about what are you glad what are you glad you knew when you took the exam? What kind of helped you when you sat for, let's say, the admin exam?
The admin exam, because I tried it 3 times, I felt like I was well prepared that 3rd time. I made a mistake and I went overconfident the first time. It was at the end of the last year, and I had some idle time, and I chose to take it. Let me just see how I do. What am I missing? And I failed it, but my results were all over the place. There were some topics that I wasn't too strong on them, so I had to go back and study. And for some reason, I wanted to pass it before the end of the year, so I took it too close to each other and I failed it again. So that kind of set me back a little bit, where I was like, all right, I'm not failing these things 3 times until I truly go through the blueprint, watch enough videos, I'm comfortable with the solution, get to click the buttons around. So that's exactly what I did. I just made sure I felt a lot more comfortable with the topics that I knew I didn't have a good grasp on, and went back, and then I passed it very comfortably at that point. Since at that point I felt very prepared for it.
Okay, so going back to your first attempt at the admin exam, what do you wish you knew going into it?
That one had a lot of like NSX questions that I wasn't really expecting. SDDC manager was something that I had never used. Being over here on the seller side, I don't really get to do like the upgrades for customers and that kind of stuff. So it's not something that I was very familiar with. So I really had to go into like labs, play with it, how it worked, what it managed. I didn't going into it my first time around, I didn't even know it managed passwords and certificates for some of the solutions. So I just had to get comfortable with that. Other than that, some of the topics, there was another one, the data services manager. I think that's one that not a lot of people have used, and there were a few questions, not a whole lot, but there were some that definitely, if you had some experience with it, would give you the edge. So I definitely had to do my research, read about it, watch some videos, play with it. Hands-on labs comes in handy for all that kind of stuff that you don't have in your environment. So that's always helpful.
Okay, and then last primer question, was there anything that surprised you?
Not on the admin exam. There was one, and I'm just gonna keep it brief, on the architect exam, which was VCF fleets, and I didn't really know what it was. I was kind of guessing around, so I think I missed all the questions around it, and I blame it on that, why I failed that exam. But on the admin one, I kind of, because I took it 3 times, I kind of knew exactly what to expect, where my weaknesses were, where my strengths were. So nothing out of the ordinary on that one.
Okay, great. I'm going to jump over to DJ real quick. It's kind of the same lines of questions. What are you glad you knew before you head into the exam?
Well, I did the architect exam in Vegas, but I already was VCF 5 architect certified. So I think I can better talk about that experience because when I did the 5 exam, I already knew from some colleagues that the architect exam that you need to know a lot about amperes and cars, about the design stuff. So I got a good preparation because of that. And next to that, of course, I had to prepare more deep into VCF, of course, and know the tech stuff. But knowing those design principles was really worth it. Taking time to make it yourself and go for the exam. That really helped me at my first VCF architect exam. And based on that, I could do the 9 one as well because it has the same stuff in it.
Yeah,
Only the
similar
technique
concepts,
is a
right?
little changed. It's the same concept. So you already have about 30 or 40% which you can do without knowing everything about solution. So that helped me a lot.
Okay, great. And then is there anything that you wish you knew heading into the architect, the admin exam, or things that surprised you while you were sitting for the exams?
I think the first time I did the VCF admin at 5, I was really surprised about the amount of questions about supervisor. And I hadn't used supervisor yet, so I was really a little bit confused. And I passed that exam, but at the end I was getting a little bit nervous. You know, when you do an exam and you're at the last question and you think, okay, did I pass or not? And then you have that nervous feeling. Well, that time it was really kicking in because I had a lot of supervisor questions and I wasn't really working with that. So that made it hard for me, just like Danny had a hard time with the SDDC manager. If you haven't touched it, it's a little tougher.
Yeah, so thinking back to the exam a little bit, do you feel like the questions were like evenly distributed across their product set, or you're mentioning supervisor, do you feel like there was more questions in one area than another?
No, I think it was good divided between the topics, but well, if you have one topic you don't know that much about, it makes it hard, and that's the part you remember. I do a lot of stuff with operations, so there were a lot of operations questions in it, and I could do that easily because of what I already knew, and that's something I take with me every time. If I work with a solution and I have to get certified, just remember what you already know by working with solution, and you might know more than you know for yourself.
Right. Yeah, so I just saw a question popped into the normal chat. The question was whether or not it's possible to pass the exam on the first attempt. So I'll let you take a crack at it before I give my opinion.
Sorry, I just missed the question. My sound was a little bit
So
ticking.
the question is, do you think it's possible to pass the admin or the architect on the first attempt?
Yeah. If you have hands-on experience with the product, I think you can pass it, but you have to prepare. Go to the topics list, see what's in it, watch movies, visit VMUG events to gain more information. Uh, Things like the data services manager, it's not often used, so make sure you know something about it, and then you will be fine for a first attempt.
Okay, great. Thanks, DJ. Everett, what are you glad you knew before you took the exam? Everett, let's unmute, please.
Yeah, apparently that space to unmute didn't really work for me. Apologies. I'm glad I had enough hands-on experience with vSphere and most of the components that made up VCF ahead of time. So I knew enough about most of the components to really have a decent go at the exam without really having a lot of the more classic VCP, DCV knowledge that you need in the past.
Okay, and then heading into the exam, is there anything that you wish you knew now that you can look back?
Yeah, specifically for 9. I wish I knew more about what used to be ARIA, especially automation. I see a few of the co-panelists nodding as well, and I know quite a few other people had similar issues as me.
Okay. And then, looking back, what has surprised you?
I'm surprised that I don't want to say how easy the exams were, but how doable they were, really. I was expecting them to really require a lot of in-depth knowledge and a lot of studying, but at least for the admin exam, there's no super in-depth questions in my experience, at least.
So historically, I've heard the previous exams, like looking back earlier versions, they would get into configuration maximums and really detailed questions. Do you feel like the VCF 5.2 or the 9 exam were fair, I would say, like more based on actual administration tasks and knowledge versus uh, specific book knowledge?
No, absolutely. I took the VCF NV and both VCAPs for NV in the past, and I had basically told myself, like, I'm not taking this VCP again. Like, I don't feel like going through this effort again of just learning a bunch of config max stuff for no reason except for having a badge next to my name. And with the VCF exams, that's not been that's not been an issue for me at all.
Okay, great. Great. Richard, you're up next. Are you still on screen there? Great. Uh, what are you glad you knew heading into your exam experience?
The IP set that you need when you are walking through the install of VCF to start with, like day 0. Matt Helsteb actually helped me walk through the lab originally, just to not even doing it, but just walking through his slide deck about, hey, here's what it actually looks like. And that IP schema and the terminology used was actually a direct question on the exam. And it's actually one of the only things I ended up studying for the admin. I kind of YOLO'd it and just kind of went, let's see where I sit from a skill perspective, because it was free for me. And I'm very glad that I had sat down and walked through the original install, just clicking through the screens, because it was very beneficial for some of the questions because they were verbatim for what you saw on the screen.
Okay. And then what do you wish you knew looking back?
Definitely more NSX. I was able to guesstimate my way through most of it, just be taking trainings upon trainings all these years and being active in the community and listening to people talking. I knew what I was doing, but definitely having hands-on experience with how the NSX gateways work, how the different platform works as a whole would have been something I wish I would have known, but I passed anyway, so it's not that big of a deal.
That's fair. That's fair. And then, so what surprised you?
Just how much you need to know the new terminology. A lot of the features that we have taken for granted over the last 15 years of working day in and day out with VMware have changed. So instead of log insight, it's operations for logs. Instead of vRealize, it's ARIA. Instead of SDDC, it's VCF now. It's a lot of the marketing terms really were a part of the exam. And we know how to go through and change them mentally, but actually having a little key or a flashcard that you studied from would have been helpful.
Yeah, I actually second that. I'm working on a deck next week for the DC VMUG, and I don't use all the products currently. So as I'm getting ready to talk about a little bit of feature sets, I'm like, man, I really want to call it Log Insight. Well, it's not that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So and then I go to look for a logo or something that I want to put on the deck, and I don't even know what to look for or how to find a logo just to give the slide a little bit more personality. So
Yep,
that's
agreed.
good. Do you feel like the questions were dispersed evenly amongst the product set? Do you feel like it kind of focused in for you any which way? Was it more NSX
It
focused?
really focused in for me on the vRealize suite, which is the ARIA suite now, as we just talked about. It's changing the terms. It was very heavy on ARIA. It wanted to have you know where you needed to go to get something, and I would say a good 35% of the questions were really based on knowing your way around ARIA, which thankfully I did because I had been using Operations Manager and Log Insight in prod for many, many years. Just because the names changed, the functionality did not.
Excellent. Great. All right, Chicago, Dave, you're up. What do you wish you knew?
More NSX, like it's been said before. seen NSX from playing with it with hands-on labs and things like that, but we don't use it currently. We had plans to, and then things changed, of course. So I've never actually done a ton of hands-on work with NSX. So that was probably my biggest challenge when I did the 5.2 admin and the 9 admin. Yeah.
Okay, and then what are you glad you knew walking into the exam? Kind of reverse the questions on you a little bit.
Way to go and confuse me. No, I'd say I do a lot with ops, ARIA ops. I mean, I've been using it since it was good old days of VCops. So anything that popped up on that, I was pretty comfortable with. The biggest thing I noticed is it's kind of been mentioned where it's a wider range of products now on the test that you need to know about, but the depth is not there. It's a lot shallower as opposed to what you were doing. And yeah, they did take away a lot of like the random memorization of config maximums and stuff like that. I think they finally heard us saying like, hey, why do I need to memorize this when I can just go Google it really quick? So it was nice to see it as more technical stuff and questions related that way, as opposed to just like maximums or what's this config or something like that. So
Okay, great. And what about what has surprised you?
I think it comes back to some of the terminology too. I'd never done any of the advanced exams. So when I did the architect, there was a lot of specific VMware language that is based around like the whole process they have in place for all the planning and things like that. And I just was not familiar with some of the terminology, and I think that's what threw me off on that. I haven't tried to take the architect for 9 yet, but I'm hoping it's a little easier, at least from a language perspective.
Okay, great. We do have some questions popping in. DJ, if you just want to verbally respond, you don't have to type. If you want to just repeat the question and then just your answer.
There was a question about the ARIA name, which I just typed. The ARIA name is no longer used in VCF 9. I'm not sure if everyone is aware of it, but the ARIA products are now just the VCF products. So ARIA operations is VCF operations. ARIA automation is VCF automation, etc. So they're really shifting it to everything VCF. So another name change for good old VCops.
Yeah.
And then there's another question in here about upgrade scenarios from 5 to 9 on the test. I'd say there were definitely, I had some questions that talked about going greenfield or brownfield with things. I feel like it's a pretty randomized test at this point for the questions you're going to get, because other people I've talked to as well. Some people see more NSX or some people see more ops questions. So I definitely did see a couple asking about upgrades from a 5x to a 9x environment on the test.
Great. So I'll be happy to fill in some questions while we wait for more members to join in. So I know some of you kind of did the YOLO thing. Some of you did some preparation. So my question is, during your preparation, let's say that you were going to prepare for the exam. I've seen in the chat people have put some links into the Broadcom details about the test. There's some blogs out there. But my actual question is, would you focus on what you know and feel more confident in those areas that you're comfortable with, or would you spend more time trying to learn the language and the knowledge that you don't know?
I would probably, I think the best thing to do is get a copy of the blueprint and look through the blueprint, because it'll tell you where the questions are coming from. See what you know on the blueprint that you're, I don't know, 85% sure of, that you're very familiar with, and then kind of make a list of what you don't know as much. And my opinion is I tend to find what I don't know and try to learn at least a little bit about that, so I have somewhat of an idea, so I can try to fake my way through some of the questions at times. And then my pro tip is, if an answer has a name of a product in it, it might be the right answer, depending on how the question is phrased.
Fair enough. Danny, taking the test multiple times, do you feel the feedback you got from the failed attempts was useful in preparing for the follow-on attempts?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this, I'm lucky that I work for a company that reimburses me for the certifications, so I'm never scared to take a test. I like to know where I stand. Uh, Sometimes it's not the best approach because it kind of makes you go into it not as prepared as you should be. But at the same time, I use it as a learning situation where it lets me know exactly where I'm at, what my weaknesses are, and that way I can kind of go back to the drawing board and study what I'm lacking on. So to me, it's helpful taking
Perfect.
it, going into it, maybe not 100% prepared, but good enough that I have a fair shot at it.
Okay. And then specifically for you, did you use the blueprint? What was the resource that you used the most to kind of prepare you for those follow-on exams?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been using VMware for 15 years, so it's kind of hard to like go back to like a blueprint and start reading like from that. Like I definitely check the topics, uh, but then after that, I pick my weaknesses, questions, topics that I know I failed because I didn't understand them, and then I go do my own research. Whether it's you know, uh, my job, like there's some time on the road where I can listen to podcasts, YouTube videos where like, let's just say I brought up the fleets situation. Like that's something, and I know that's VCF 9, not 5.2, but that's something that I went right away and like, you know what? Let me just hear a little bit more about this. Let me get more familiar with that. I don't have the list of topics that I studied for 5.2 just because it's been a little bit, but that's exactly what I would do. After the test finished, it gives you on your results like what you were lacking on, and that's where I start. I don't focus on what I did good. I focus on what I did wrong, and kind of just make sure that I have a good understanding of those topics.
Okay, great. All right. Let's see. We
I
just had
want to
a
say,
question.
whoever threw the link up to the 12 holiday cheers or the 12 days of holiday lab cheer, the VCF admin guide, that was a great resource that they put together, the code people. Unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be another one done for 9. So I think most of those people aren't with Broadcom anymore. But that was a great resource for getting your feet into the VCF environment and learning about it.
This
Super
is
helpful.
same thing with the study group, actually. The recordings are on the VMware Code channel. They're geared towards 5.2, and there was only ever one session for the architect exam. But I've reviewed them, and well, the architect one at least before I took the VCF 9 architect, and it is still well worth it to just have that look, especially for architects. That might just be a general thing, but the architect exam, I felt like there's way less product specific questions in there, and it is much more, as some people have mentioned as well, it's much more about design and well, the whole
Processes.
the
Yeah, so
cloud staying
I
in
think it's
dates.
important to bring up that, historically there was a dollar barrier for sitting for the VCP. You used to have to attend a $2,500, $3,000 class before you could even sit. So VMware stripped that away, and now you're only financially responsible for taking the test or sitting for the test. Again, with VMUG Advantage, we give you a discount, and then at a lot of VMUG events, they're now building that into for Advantage members to have that complimentary. But I wanted to kind of review some of the resources. So we talked about the 12 days of holiday lab cheer, an administrator's guide, exam guide. There are, whatever it talked about, some podcasts or recorded videos where they talk about how to help you pass the test. There's the blueprint that people have posted the link to in the chat. And then additionally, if you're a VCF paying customer, inside of the portal, there is VMware or Broadcom training to help you sit for the exam as well. So those are kind of the main things that will help you pass or can potentially lead you down that pass route. Are there anything that from the panelists, is there anything that I missed in kind of summarizing the opportunities you have?
I think there was one leader at the Explorer conference who spent 2 nights sitting in his hotel room reading the actual like tech manual. He said that was a great way to study for passing the tests, but it's also like a 8,000 page tech manual. So, I mean, if that's your thing, that's another good way. You'll probably find every answer in that. It's just a lot of reading.
Okay, so, saw a question from Eric Potter about navigating the Broadcom e-learning portal.
Mhm.
I don't think that we have any direct links. Everything's going to be token and cookie based. I would say if you have a TAM, they might be able to help navigate you through the portal to get you to your training.
The hands-on labs too are
That's
an
a good one.
amazing resource, and I don't think we've talked too much about those. That's just what hol.vmware.com still, I think. So
It may have switched over to Broadcom, but yeah, hands-on labs are great for all products, and also just not even from an exam perspective, but just to get yourself familiar with any product, break it, rebuild the environment.
Yeah.
Great point, Dave.
yeah,
There's
it's
something.
especially like I've looked at that for NSX just to get some like hands-on with NSX now. So I mean, you're following along a pre-scripted route, but I think you can take what you're learning in there to then apply it to the test as well.
And
it's a
keep in mind off Dave's mention that you can pick a lab you want to learn more about and then absolutely destroy the lab. And you don't have to follow the scripted setup.
Mhm.
But if you pick a lab as a starting point, like he said, NSX, you can absolutely destroy it and try to reconfigure it as many ways as you want. And then if you don't, lab reset. And you don't have to worry about building that at home.
And
That's a great
yeah,
point.
it's been mentioned. You've briefly mentioned it, Richard, but like I think it's very important. You don't have to follow the lab manual. It's just a functional nested environment. If you just want to mess around with an installation, just spin up any lab, open the interfaces, and do whatever you want with it. If you just want to learn, ignore the lab guide and just browse around the interface.
Yeah.
I've personally used it for like creating documentation, screenshots. Go into the lab, take my screenshots, and call it a day. Sometimes customers have questions, and I can just go in there and get them the answers. Like click here, do this, good to go.
Great. Dave, did you want to take the question? If you're new to VMware, where should you get
Yeah.
started?
Join your local VMUG first of all.
Yes.
Do that. Reach out. We're a great bunch to talk to. We're all friendly and nice. Some chapters are more active than others, but we're definitely got some really cool stuff coming up. Hands-on labs, like I said, are great. And then the VMware code page is another great place to play around. Get the Advantage subscription with VMUG. So then once you do go pass your test, you can get your free VCF licenses and build your own home lab.
Fantastic. Robert, if you have any follow-on questions, please ask. I know being new to VMware, I think maybe 15 years ago probably wasn't as daunting as it is now with all their products that they now have.
Sources.
DJ, I'd like to see if you could help out with where would a network engineer aspiring to be a cloud network architect as a career goal be gaining VMware certs, and where should they be focusing for network security and virtualization? That's a long question. What are your
That's a
thoughts?
long question, yes. Well, I think you should start with the basic VCF, because VCF is the platform which has everything in it. So you have to know something of everything. Sounds a little odd, but that's really the main thing you work on. And after that, you can specialize with a network exam. I think the new VCAPs are coming. It's been a talk around, and you can specialize after having the VCF admin or architect exam. So you have the basis for the product, for the platform, and after that grow on to the network part. I think there's even a vDefend exam out already, which focuses on the vDefend, on networking firewalling. So I think that's a path you can take, but feel free to reach out, of course, to discuss more.
Robert,
So I know a lot of the folks kind of backed away from NSX or whatever. Anyone else have input onto where these, historically physical network engineers are now coming into the data center, working with network virtualization can get started?
That actually fits my background. I came into VMware as a network engineer, or in the VMware ecosystem as a network engineer. I'd say NSX is by far the easiest part if you come into VMware from a networking background. because you're generally familiar with, if you have DC experience, you're familiar with essentially what NSX does. Sure, it's different, but it's not that different from what you're used to. So if anything, I think if you want to get it to learn, if you want to get to know NSX better, picking up on like even the basics in networking helps a ton. Knowing how BGP works to a certain degree, for example, is huge to just understanding how NSX works.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack there. I think NSX is probably one of the most underrated products that VMware has put out. We started looking at it at my shop when it was still Nicira before the acquisition. And the features that they've added to it have been unbelievable. And then adding the load balancing and all the products they've added. So again, I think hands-on labs, back to what our other panelists have said, is a great place to kind of get started and get a feel for what the products have. I don't know exactly how many they have for NSX. Historically, they've had quite a few hands-on labs for NSX to get started, rather than just reading through the documentation.
The other question we got about sources for a home lab, eBay's your friend, or if your company's getting rid of old equipment, maybe you can see about getting a server from them. I know that's how I built most of my home lab out, is just taking the old retired equipment that's still sort of works with VMware, but not always. And then I threw a link to in the chat for William Lamb's blog. That is one of your best resources for anything and everything home lab. He goes through so many different things. A big thing he's written up is how to do a whole mini home lab with the minis forums and using a 2-node cluster to actually get a full VCF stack up and running on it. So that guy has more hours in his day than anybody else, but has some of the greatest information out there.
Yeah, so much so that my original lab from 2012 is still up and functional on vSphere 8. It's a tri-set of Mac Mini 2012s with i7 processors in them. And I built that from William Lamb's blog. So as we all know, data center technology is not one and done every year. If you have an old lab, it still works and you can still play around with a lot of the new stuff, especially if you have a slightly larger data center equipment that has been recycled. You can even do nested things. So the options for home labs right now are the greatest they've been in a very long time. And the starting place is definitely William Lamb's blog. Even the archives back 10 years ago, if you're budget constrained, even some of the old stuff for NSX is still completely valuable. If you want to do more of the new things, you can spin up an old lab with the old bits you might already have, and it's still just as valuable then as it is now.
And one of the good things too is you can get the workstation for free from Broadcom now. So you can use that and build a whole, and there I believe you can find the flings available as well. And there's a whole nested home lab or a nested lab set up on the flings. So if you've got a desktop that's got a decent fair amount of memory, you can get most of the things up and going on your desktop as well, just using workstation.
As well as Fusion is the same way. If you're a Mac user that still happens to have an Intel chipset, Fusion is also free along with Workstation.
Richard, while we have you unmuted, I'd like you to talk about Advantage, Home Lab, and licensing.
It's $40,000. If you look at the license count that you get from Broadcom for doing Advantage with a proper certificate, they are giving you $40,000 worth of software for 3 years, no questions asked. It's an incredible value when you actually look at the list price SKUs, and you can use it however you want, but you just got to get certified first. Is that a stumbling block for some people because it's been a change of pace for the last 10 years? Yes, it is. But Broadcom has made it very, very, very accessible. They've changed the format of the tests a little bit. There's other people on this call have said that they're not hitting you with like maximum numbers and esoteric KBs and things that are now easily Googleable, or you can do ChatGPT for things. It's very, very user friendly to get certified now, and you don't need to worry about the classes. Also, as a VMUG Advantage member, you're helping keep VMUG in play. A lot of our budget comes direct from Advantage subscribers, and you also get exclusive content that is coming next year. And the ball game has changed a little bit, so it's really worth your effort to get VMUG Advantage. You can expense it if you have a friendly enough business. It really isn't more of a cost of an executive lunch for, you know, $200 with a discount code. It goes under that. You can do group buys with 5 or more each. Just ask your boss, hey, can I have $200 to get all of this content that we're going to be looking at deploying, and expense it. So there's ways that you can absorb that cost. And if you're running VMUGs or you're going to VMUGs, there's a decent chance you can win one too, because we are allowed to give away 2 a year. So hit up a few of your local VMUGs and see if you get that chance.
Perfect. Thank you. That was a great sales pitch.
I
just want to recap.
I was
said.
an SC in my past life.
So I just want
Those
to
are all your
recap that.
value adds.
So, one of the things we talk about is cost with taking certifications and what you get for that certification. So we'll just touch on the money aspect of it right now. If you join Advantage and you attend a VMUG event where we're doing complimentary sits, you've now received a free sit for an exam. If you get that, you then get your $40,000. I think it's 132 cores of VCF available to you, and then there might be some additional licensing on top of that. So taking money off the table, we'll start with we'll go back to Danny. Being certified, what has it meant for you? Maybe for your career, maybe for your job, or just personally, what has it meant for you to have passed the test?
Yeah, so back in the day when I took my first VMware certification, I think it was VCP 5, I recall. I had to take the class. I was forced to take it. I had already deployed, installed VMware multiple times, but I still had to take I actually took it in person. So nowadays it's all webinars, Zoom classes. Back then I went to an actual class with other people there. It was kind of boring the first 2 days, but then the other 3 days there were things that we definitely learned. And after I passed that exam and I got the certification, I got a promotion at my job, and it made me a lot more valuable having that on my resume. So, you could definitely see that anybody certified with VCP, I know things have changed, but back then it was a very valuable certification. It would bump, I think I was making probably like $50,000 back then. It bumped it up another like 15, 20K, just having that certification at that time. And that's because I was at the same company. Going somewhere else, you could even get more. So very valuable to me at the time. And ever since then, I wanted to keep it. I didn't want to take the class again because I was comfortable with the knowledge that I had. So I kept renewing, going from like 5 to 5.5 to 6.5. So just moving it along, making sure it never expired, so I didn't have to take the class again. Certainly things have changed. You don't need the class anymore. So that's a great advantage nowadays. So if you have the knowledge, just go take the test and you're set. So I really like that part of the new strategy that Broadcom implemented.
Right. Go ahead, Richard.
So back in the day, just like Danny said, I ended up getting VCP 4 certified, and I actually had to do that myself. And another plug for Advantage is my company at the time wouldn't reimburse any trainings. They wouldn't do any certifications, just how they were. There are companies like that out there. And I was able to purchase Advantage with a discount, and it knocked, I think at the time, 35% off the training courses. It might have even been higher. But it took a 5K install, configure, manage class down to a much more manageable $3,200 out of my pocket. And I went, I'll do this and I'll get certified. And I took that experience to job interviews. I said, I self-financed my certification. I self-financed my class for this technology that I'm interested in. I'm interviewing for a position at this company that seems to value this technology. Let's talk. And I got a job, and I lasted 8.5 years there, 2 stints actually, because I was able to self-certify and get certified and also do VMUG Advantage. So financially advantageous to me, absolutely, but it also validated that I was in the right career path, doing the right thing, and I knew my stuff. So now that the exams are more or less free if you go to UserCons or if you're going to some future events, just take it, sit it, and see what it can do for your career.
Great. Dave, I'm going to pick on you for a minute. You said you've been at your company for, you said 18 years. So what is getting a certification, whether it's VMware or any other certification, how does that help you? How does that, what is it doing for you?
It kind of, I came in as a contractor and then was able to work on our help desk for a couple months, and there was an opening at a network side or a network admin position / server admin. So one of the stipulations was they were a VMware shop, so I had to start learning VMware right off the bat. We were on 4. I know there's still some GSX, and then it was basically, hey, we're gonna go stick you in this VMware 5 class because we want to upgrade to this because it's this new cool thing. Like, okay, this sounds kind of interesting. So once went through the class, was able to go pass the test, and then kind of showed me like, hey, this stuff's pretty cool. I kind of get it. I know what I'm talking about here. And then just over the course of many years now have gone and got like the 5.5 Delta, the 6, the 6.5. And then I took it as like a personal goal every year or every other year to make sure I got a new certification. So to myself, I felt like I was being current with technology and keeping up because we know how fast everything changes every day. And like I mentioned, I started using VROPs back when it was still VCOPs and stuff like that back in the day. So just knowing what I'm talking about most of the time, and then having a little more reassurance whenever you get that imposter syndrome that we all get from day to day, like, hey, do I actually know what I'm doing, or am I just faking my way through this? I think it helps kind of make those feelings go away once in a while. And then just really proved like, hey, I am smart and I know what I'm doing, and yes, that's why I'm valuable and keep me here, and I like where I work and I'm enjoying my job still. So,
Great.
so I've just over the years also turned it into like a personal goal at this point to try to get a new cert.
Okay.
And as soon as they took away the classes, that made things a lot easier because I think a lot of us went through when they put the expiration date a couple of years ago on things that you had to go do it every 2 years. I know like I was one who didn't get around to that, so mine technically went invalid at that point, but then they backtracked, so then they became valid, and there's that whole like foggy area. But I think the way Broadcom's going now is I feel like they're trying to get everybody certified who's working with VMware, and they've made it a lot more reachable and more attainable for a lot of people. So
Fair. Great. Thank you. DJ, again, passing any certification doesn't necessarily have to be a VMware cert helped you, or how does it help you in your job? How does it help you in your career?
Well, a couple of years ago, I was still at a company managing day-to-day operations for our data center environment, and over there, getting certified was really a struggle. They didn't want to spend too much budget on training, on certification, etc. So when I had the chance to go to another company to be a consultant, and knowing that I could get certified, I took that chance. Back in the days, I was already visiting VMUG, seeing cool sessions from Duncan Epping and Frank Denneman, and knowing, well, this is kind of cool stuff. I want to get to know more about it. Well, I got the chance to go to another company, get certified, and it really gave me the feeling that, well, I can do this too. I can do cool stuff with vSphere too. So passing the first certifications was really a blast. It was back in the COVID days, so it was real strange to do it. It was the first time we could do stuff online for certifications, of course, but it was a good feeling back then, and it still is. Every time I take an exam, I'm a little nervous, but every time you pass, of course, sometimes I don't pass. It gives such a great feeling, and it gives you the feeling that you know the stuff you're doing. That imposter syndrome. Well, I know a lot of guys at the company I work at sometimes have the feeling that am I doing it right? Am I really good at what I do? And getting certified really gives you that stamp that you know what you're doing. So that's good.
All right. Thank you. Everett, is there a big difference between the VVF and VCF certification? And if you don't know, you can certainly pass it to one of the other panelists.
I was just going to say, I am absolutely not the person to ask that because I have never tried to do anything at all with VVF, to be honest. I would assume that it's just VVF would be just less, right? Since VVF
Yeah.
contains a bit less of the original product stack than VCF does.
That'd be my guess too. It just has less stuff than the full VCF.
If you read between the lines of everybody who's gotten certified, I don't think I've seen one person get VVF certified. Go to VCF. And
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that because there are things that are going on that we're not all knowing about. And just go to VCF. It's going to be easier. It's going to be, don't worry about VVF because the training between the two is definitely cross compatible, and Broadcom is itself saying VCF, VCF, VCF. So read between the lines as you will, but it seems to me that VCF is the way to go forward.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, definitely. VCF is definitely the way to go forward. And one of my colleagues accidentally took the VVF admin exam. He wanted to do the VCF admin one, but he said it was just like VCF without NSX automation, because those products are not in VVF. So he passed very well, but his intention was to get the VCF admin. So it was an easy one, he said, because of
I think
less
you know,
products.
It's tough to speculate. I haven't looked at the difference between the exams officially. What I can say from a career perspective and then from like a hiring manager perspective would be that I think the stretch from VVF to VCF probably isn't going to be that large of a skills gap or a knowledge gap. And you're probably going to be easier to hire if you're getting the VCF cert versus the VVF. Just and again, the difference being, 3 or 4 products that you need to answer a handful of questions about. You'll be more marketable if you take the VCF exam. All right, there's another question in our Q&A. Is there a plan to release dedicated course for vSphere, vSAN, and NSX on version 9? I'm curious for this person if you could respond either in the chat or ask another question. Do you mean a certification specific to those products? Or are you asking about classes and training?
Or maybe like the community sessions like that was done previously.
Yeah, I think the question was regarding, because the question was asked in chat as well. I think it's regarding training materials specifically.
Yeah, I don't know any VMUG plans to do anything currently, but things could change. I mean, this is a community for all the VMUG users. So if this is something that's the community wants, then maybe it's something VMUG can take a look at and kind of take over where the code group was doing something like that. It's something we could talk about as VMUG leaders around the world and figure out if we could do something like that maybe.
Okay, there we go. So the training course in Broadcom's site is currently for VCF, and it's not a deep dive on any of those specific areas or content specific to those areas. Well, unfortunately, I can't speak for Broadcom specifically. I think that if people, I do think that the focus from Broadcom is going to be empirically VCF. I mean, they are pushing VCF with all that they have. Every tractor trailer you can put behind a snowstorm in Buffalo, they are pushing that down the road. And it's not to say that they don't care about vSphere, vSAN, or NSX. They're just looking at it as that's just a piece of the larger product, and the product is the software defined data center that's going to be on-prem. So as far as courses that they're going to offer, I can't speak to that, and I don't know that any of the panelists could either. Outside of Broadcom, looking at resources, it would be looking at the VMware code. It would be even, I mean, I guess Hands-On Labs is part of Broadcom to sharpen your skills there. Any other panelists have input on that?
This is entirely speculation, but with no VCAPs allegedly coming, which are likely going to be a bit more specialized or specific. There might be more training material coming specifically for the releases of NSX and VCF9 or vSAN, and that maybe go a bit more into depth on those. But like I said, this is entirely speculation from my end.
And keep in mind, VMware, I should say, excuse me, Broadcom's VMware platform is not just marketed towards large enterprises. Do they have that reputation? Absolutely. But if you look at the keynote that was at VMware Explorer this past year, the leading keynote was a 25-minute discussion from a person who was only a $10 million run rate company. They had a few hosts. They had an old version of VMware. They went up and they said to Broadcom, hey, we want to be in this VCF stack. We've looked at everything else. We want to play ball with you. And they had less than like 50 hosts. I myself have asked Hock Tan specifically, directly, one-on-one in person, what's the minimum viable target for us to consume VCF? And he's like 10 hosts. And that was the answer. So if you're a small company looking to move into VCF and looking to do all the neat things that VMware's been able to do the last 20 years, you're probably looking at 10 hosts with the required training packages for all the different software. And keep in mind, Broadcom is still relatively new to this acquisition. There's been a lot of business turnover. There's been a significant amount of technological oversight and change, and they themselves aren't at a point where they might be ready to offer all the new training packages for the pieces of VCF. So it's VCF full steam ahead, and as the pieces start to come into better view, the rest of us will know, and everybody in VMUG will be the first to know.
Cool. Richard, while we have you, we're starting to wrap up here. You've got 20 seconds. Anything else you'd like to add?
VCF all the way. That's the way the world is going at the moment. Businesses has changed. Broadcom has changed the name of the game. And if you want to play in the VMware workspace, you better get VCF certified because Broadcom wants you to. So let's roll and go get your advantage.
All right, DJ, you're up next. Anything to add?
Yeah, I think Richard said it all. It's VCF all the way. So go for that certification, get yourself certified, and learn how to work with VCF, because the old days for vSphere are kind of over.
Great. Everett?
Yeah, one minor tidbit. If you take the exam, if you right-click a question, it will strike to that question. Quite a few of us learned that in London, and quite a few of us did not know that. So random trivia bit out there, but it might help you.
All right, Dave.
Join your local VMUG, get your advantage, and VCF. That's what's happening.
Great. Danny, wrap us up.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything they said. I think you got to embrace the platform. It's no longer a hypervisor play here. It's an entire suite. It's how to run like a private cloud in your data center. So as long as you embrace it, you get the full value for it. You just got to see it a little bit differently.
Great. I'd like to thank all of you for participating. I'm going to hand it back over to the team in Nashville.
Hey, look, it's Brad. Brad made it.
Hey, everybody. I was able to catch the back half of this. Appreciate the conversation. Chat was super lively. That's awesome. And I just agree with the summary there from everybody. You know, VCF is what Broadcom is talking about 99.9% of the time. It's not just a platform for the enterprises, as Richard pointed out in the keynote with Grinnell Mutual. Go back and watch that. If you haven't, it's on demand everywhere. But it's exciting times, and our members have been asking to move up the stack for a long time. And guess what? Now's your chance, because you've got VCF, so you need to learn how to use it all.
Okay, everyone, I'm gonna wrap us up. If this would present. No, okay. Thank you everyone for joining. This session was recorded, and you will receive it in the wrap up email. Oh, there it is. And then please fill out the survey. It's about 8 questions. It helps us provide content just like this. So if you really love this and you want more of it, let us know and we can bring it to you in 2026. And again, use code CERT10 for 10% off of that 1-year VMUG Advantage membership. Again, VMUG Advantage has helped thousands of our members, and we saw Matt in the chat. So thank you for those who are able to join. And here's again, some refresher on those benefits. We also dropped a one-pager and we'll make sure to include that in the wrap-up email. But we really recommend upgrading to Advantage and then taking your certification. You get 50% off of a certification sit when you're an Advantage member. And then you also get all of those amazing benefits. And as Justin pointed out, next week at the DC UserCon, we will have cert sits for Advantage folks. So just make sure you're attending VMUG events and coming to us and going to local meetings. And there's that discount code one more time. Thank you all for your time. We so appreciate it. And we hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.